Hey VC, hey, hello, hello, hello. It's your pal Dom here, seeking a thread. I'm going to do a vinyl absorption. I think it's number 15. It feels like it's been a while since I've done one of these. And just to start off, thanks so much everyone for joining me last week on that epic live stream. It was successful. It really helped put a serious cash flow injection into our budget and really helped get us our pressing going, which as of this coming week, as of this week, the pressing we are now in the queue, so that is underway. Thank you everyone. All the winners pretty much have been sent out. There's a few loose ends which will get tied up, but all the records that were given away on my end have been sent. You probably have them as you see this, so hope you like those. Don't know how many more records I'll be giving away out of my collection, but happy to pass them along, just a way to show sort of appreciation for people putting time and some of their money into my little, creative endeavor, material objects. Insert time. I meant to say, if you donated $20 or more, you were entitled to a t-shirt or a copy of our first EP, Content vs. Carrier. Up to you. If you do want one of those, I will mail you a shirt. It's got to be medium or large, or a copy of our first EP. Email me at the address you see below if you donated $20 or more to the Material Objects fundraiser. It's been a pretty busy February. I have a couple cool things coming up on this channel. Stay tuned for an interview with Steve Lowenthal, biographer for John Fahey, myself, and Sean of Cole's Train. He knew Steve, and so we've connected the dots there, and that interview will be coming out soon. And I got a couple of Psych things I'm going to do, plus some artist appreciations, but I wanted to sort of dive back into just regular old sort of seeking a thread stuff, and maybe lay off the sales and the giveaways, but thanks again everybody for all of that. Let's get into it with Marianne Faithfull passed away. I don't have the date in front of me, but it was at least a month ago now. So I played my favorite song by her at the top, that 45 of Morning Sun, and not included on any specific album, but just such a beautiful track, and it has caused me to bring out this album, Rich Kid Blues. Speaking of Record Store Day releases that you actually play, this was from 2017, and this is an unreleased recording. It had been released on CD in the late 90s. The whole story of it is in this insert, but essentially when she was at her worst sort of addiction level in the early 70s, she had a session in London, and she was in a real bad spot. She, I guess, had recently been punched in the face, and she was missing teeth, and she was really in the throes of heroin addiction. But she did this session produced by Meic Leander, and it's mainly, or I believe all covers. You have James Taylor, Sandy Denny, George Harrison's Beware of Darkness, Bob Dylan, a few different Dylan covers, Visions of Johanna, and It Takes a Lot to Laugh, It Takes a Train to Cry, and then Phil Oakes, Tim Hardin. It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. Cat Stevens, Sad Lisa, Rich Kid Blues, the title track by Terry Reid. And it's her sort of in a really low place, but her voice is reflective of that. And I really love the arrangements and everyone who plays on this. A really sort of like pretty desolate, but still somewhat sort of beautiful album. And this is the only issue, and you can find this record still within $10, $15, $20, somewhere in there. Highly recommend checking it out. It's on the Demon label, like I said. It was 2017 RSD. And I don't know why this one doesn't get much more attention, but the whole story on here really gives you the full spiel. Her voice is really gravelly, really affected, but it's excellent. I love the versions. You're gonna hear "Chords of Fame," the Phil Oakes song. That's probably my favorite on this. And yeah, rest in peace, Marianne Faithfull. I'm not someone who has a lot of her records, but what I have I really enjoy, including that single. So I've been playing this, and you should check it out.
Who tries to be a star? Come on and play the chords of love, my friend. Play the chords of fame. But if you want to keep your songs, don't play the chords of fame.
Listening to a record I got. So February's been pretty quiet. I've taken a break from buying a lot of records just because I've been dedicating some funds and time to the material objects thing. But January was not that quiet, and I found myself sort of scooping up a bunch of things. I find that the deals really come hot and heavy around January, in particular Christmas time, when there's like a lot of sales that come out. And this one, I've been eyeing this record for a little while now, and that's what we're listening to, Charles Lloyd's Pathless Path on the Unity label. Sort of investigating that a little bit, I was intrigued to find this Charles Lloyd record, of course known for his jazz records, but here he was doing new age cosmic ambient music. He's playing flute, tenor sax, piano, vocals, and clarinet. But this is from 1980, I think it is, which is like most of the Unity stuff is around that era or time frame, 1979. Here he is. This is actually a tough one to find, and I'd sort of been on my radar for a little while, and I saw a sale on eBay and was able to get this for a nice offer. And really, it's a spiritual free age new age record. Mark Isham is on synths, who would have his own sort of bit of his own career in this sort of music. Peter Manu on guitar, Pat O'Hearn bass, Mara Pearl on koto. Yeah, there's some really beautiful koto on here. But the Isham synths are really cool. We're listening, I think, right now to him playing clarinet, Charles Lloyd. And there is some vocals later on. And it's clearly just Lloyd really looking to go down a spiritual path, a pathless path, as they say. This one, it definitely has a bit of a dated sound at times, but it gets into some far out places. It's just this is one of those beautiful new age records that you can be pretty confident in, I would say. Yeah, it's weird. The whole Unity label, known for these kinds of records, but underground sounds. I'd kind of like to know the story of how he ended up doing this, and why he ended up doing this, and how he ended up on the Unity label. But here it is. Don't know how many of you know this one. It's out there, but definitely one of his far harder records to find in his catalog. On the Unity label, 1979, Pathless Path, a lovely record. We're going to listen to that. And that's the first in this path. Here it is again. All right, some avant-garde jazz. This one a little bit just straight avant-garde, but with some key jazz players. And it's Garrett List. American Images. He would be known for a bunch of things. He'd have a record on Lovely Music, but he's a trombonist and a composer. And this record is pretty free improv with a few this one I taped down. I didn't tape down, but I re-glued, I believe. But this one goes into more jazz territory than free improv, and thanks to Byatt Lancaster turning up. You also have Jeannie Sherman doing vocals, Sadiq Abdu Shahid, drums and voice, and List, trombone, piano, and voice. There's some goofy voice stuff on here, but Lancaster is awesome when he turns up. Flugelhorn, alto sax, flute, piano. And this is on Horo. So Aldo Senesio, the Italian label. This is a double LP. Now the third and fourth sides are all mainly, I haven't listened to it more than once, it's all mainly List doing solo trombone improvisations. which are fine. This record really lives and dies on the first and second sides. And the stuff that's... here's the Horo label. The stuff that turns up on those sides are what make this record absolutely worth your time. It's an eclectic sort of record, and speaking of which, Liszt is an eclectic dude. He was in the Musica Electronica Viva, doing avant-garde vocals, composing. Yeah, free improv trombone. How many players can you say that, are doing that? He had an LP on Opus 1. And I just love the second side of this. And Jeannie Sherman and the group really just get into a full-on frenzy on a few tracks, including the most important song, Let Go, and that's the song you're going to hear. It's B4, and it is pure fire. It's not just fire track. This is an all-time favorite track. Jeannie Sherman is conjuring up some cathartic moments on this, and Lancaster is losing his mind. This is a fantastic track. There's a few other songs that sort of also go into that sort of territory. What America Wants, America Gets is cool. Yeah, you got to hear this Let Go track. It's so worth it. I got this at a very good price. Okay. In the US, it was one of those prices I had to jump on, sort of on the lower end that it's ever sold for. And it was not, this is kind of towards the end of, when did I get this? Gosh. I think this goes back to last year. A lot of what you're going to see in this video is at the end of last year, November, December. And I think it's from 1979. Yeah, no repress of this, only one pressing. Some just pure fire and improvisation and weirdness of trombone and vocal shenanigans. Some of what Liszt is doing doesn't always work for me. But the high moments of this record make it well worth your time, including that track Let Go, which you're going to hear right now.
Well, you don't need it anymore. No, you don't need it anymore. Time passes, things change. Don't you know? It's not helping you. Don't listen to what they say. Don't you listen?
Okay, two big ones here. Now these all came right at the end of the year to and from two different orders from a record store in France called Plexus Records, who was doing, they do free shipping at a certain level, plus they were also doing a great sale. I think it was 20% off, and they had both of these records, both of these records, and these have both been on my sort of want list, secret want list, public want list, whatever. These have both been on my to get for many years, and they're both Don Cherry records, and I showed these briefly, but here we go. Let's talk about them now. Orient and Blue Lake. Orient with the classic, with this iconic egg, and yes, they both had the obi. Was able to get these for what I thought was a pretty fair price, not exceptionally cheap, but for them being in nice shape and having these obis. Let's go. Let's do it. So, Orient is from 1973. Now, these are really two records that go hand in hand because they're both live recordings from France, only released in Japan. Orient was released first. Don Cherry, of course. Johnny Diani on bass. OK Timiz on percussion. And on this record, Han Benek on various other percussion and some vocals and accordion. And this one, Orient, it both recorded live in France in 1971. This one gets a little more out, a little more free, but this is a spiritual jazz record, and it's a lot of Don Cherry singing and doing wordless vocals and a ton of great rhythmic ideas on this. Moki Cherry turns up too, playing tempura. Yeah, it's not really specifically identified, but recorded in France, August 11th, 1971. And it's essentially 5 tracks spread over 4 sides. This is beautiful spiritual jazz recording live. You know, this is right in the heart of Don Cherry's sort of organic music society. And I just love the the rhythmic feel to this record, thanks to Oki Temiz, the Turkish percussionist. It's on these BYG. It's on the BYG label. It's a double LP. I'll show you. This is it's the black BYG label, released in Japan, as I said. I was so happy to get these and get them for a nice price. And I don't necessarily look to have the Obi, but if I can get it, oh, great. And there she blows. So that is Orient, one that I've played all 4 sides like 3 or 4 times now since I got it. I got this right around the turn of the year, and it's been really appreciating having this in this original cover, Japanese only. And of course, the companion to it, released I think the year later, but also recorded in 1971 France, Blue Lake, also a double LP. And this one is mainly the same lineup with no Han Benek. So you still have Oki Timi's Johnny Diani and Don Cherry doing vocals, and he introduces the music, and it's just another spiritual jazz beauty. I'd say this one is a little less. The Orient has a little more sort of, has a few moments that might be a little free jazz and a little sort of on the out there sort of mode, or sort of more free moments. This one just sort of stays a little more in the spiritual mode, you might say. So this one, you kind of, if you love Orient, you'll love this too. There's just no Han Benek. Han Benek probably brings, more of the free improv and chaotic bits to Orient. But Blue Lake, also beautiful. This nice Obi, just a straight old brown back there. But both are gatefold, of course. There's a Japanese text. I didn't show you the Orient gatefold, but there it is. Really glad to have these. These are both ones that I thought I would get at some point, but I just, you never see them here in the US. And get them both in France, free shipping, and at a discount too. I was able to get, I added multiple records to get the free shipping, but there was a discount applied, so it was really sweet. Plexus Records, you can, and if you sign up, if you look up Plexus Records, by the way, if you sign up for the newsletter, they give you a 5%. So there was a discount being offered because it was like a New Year's discount. Plus, you can get another 5% when you use the discount code signing up for the newsletter. So check out Plexus Records in France. Good store, shipped really quick via I think it was DHL, with tracking and everything. Super efficient, super professional store. The grading was on point. They're both nice copies, so really happy to, yes, bring home double cherries. And really happy to cross those off. Not even cross off, just to enjoy and file away. And yeah, almost got all the Don Cherry I'm looking for.
We don't catch it this time, we'll catch it next time.
Jazz record. Here's one that in going through the Sonny Sharrock discography, one that I'd isolated and hoped to find at some point. And the store I mentioned last time, Torn Light in Chicago, had a copy of this on their website. This is the original, another Japanese pressing. This is Green Line, kind of led by Steve Marcus, who would do this stuff on Vortex. Miroslav Vitous on upright bass. He would have a record on Vortex, as would, of course, Sonny Sharrock. There he is. And here we have Daniel Humair. What a lineup. Drummer. And I love this record. There was some sort of thought online. I was reading some comments that Miroslav Vitous was his bass playing and his bowed bass like wasn't recorded properly, but I think it's amazing. This has kind of got some funky and free moments. I love these session photographs here. And it's a VG sleeve, probably because of this cracked up spine, but it still presents quite well. So yeah, it's that quartet. There are bootleg reissues of this, so watch out. But this is the original Japanese pressing on these beautiful original green Victor labels. And it's fiery, it's funky, it's free. I love Vitous' playing on this, and of course Daniel Humair. How do you go wrong with his drumming? The great Swiss drummer. Sort of ballads that Marcus, it's kind of a Marcus-led session, Steve Marcus, who I'm not a huge fan on, but what he does here and bringing this quartet together is just great. Marcus would be in the Jazz Composers Orchestra though, so he did have that going for him, but yeah, Japanese, as you can see, pressing there. And it's holding up nice. This is one that you can, I think this is like a little bit of a later repress. You might be able to get a little easier than this. But Torn Light in Chicago was able to get this domestically. They had it on Discogs, but if you order through their website, as I mentioned, they give you the discount because they're not paying Discogs fees. But man, the rhythm section on this is great, and of course you have Sharrock. You know what you're getting into here. This is great stuff. It's from 1970, Japanese pressing only, green line. Steve Marcus, Daniel Humair, Sonny Sharrock, and Miroslav Vitous. Alright, still listening to that Charles Lloyd. Let's get into some experimental music and some drone with Yoshi Wada. Lament for the Rise and Fall of the Elephantine Crocodile. This one goes all the way back to October. I remember actually ordering this via Saltern Records, who was offering sealed dead stock copies in Chicago. I remember being in Chicago recording at Electrical Audio. And at night I was going through Discogs and poking around doing things, Bandcamp Friday, and they'd offered like a 25% discount on the sealed copy of this. And I decided to go for it. It's on Indian Navigation. They had a bunch of copies of this. And I eventually got it, and the record was warped. And warped as in it affected playback. It jumped. It jumped and wouldn't track. I mean, at least for the first, few minutes, which is not acceptable. That was sealed record. So you know what that means. It means you buy a sealed record, you're kind of stuck with it. But being that it was through Bandcamp and through a label, they Saltern and got copies of this directly from the Yoshi Wada estate. There he is. I'm like, you know what? Let me ask him. And to make a long story short, after waiting a month, they told me, I was like, hey, can you replace the record? Do you have any spare copies of this that aren't warped? And they said, we think we do. And to make a long story short, after going back and forth a bunch of times, in December, I ordered this in October. In December, I got a flat copy of the record. They asked me to send the warped copy to them, which I did, and I got a flat copy. So thank you, Saltern Records. You did it. Good customer service. You didn't have to do that. You could have been like, well, it's warped. Sorry, it's a sealed record. So, ended well. Anyway, Yoshi Wada composed this in 1982, recorded in Buffalo, yes, at an old swimming pool where he set up what he was calling the Elephantine Crocodile. These things. This is a crocodile right there, and really, he's from Tokyo. He just passed away a couple of years ago, and he's one of these fluxus composers. He studied with Lamont Young, Pandit Pran Nath. And he comes from that background. This is a drone piece. The first side is all vocal, and the second side is recorded with, let's see, it talks all about, it's recorded with the Elephantine Crocodile, these pipe organs or whatever. It's all about the room acoustics. That's part of what this is. It's an old swimming pool that apparently he slept in at night just to feel the sort of like ambiance of it. He's really finding and focusing on microtonal pitches with a clarity and depth that, you know, is kind of augmented by the sound of an empty swimming pool, which has its own sort of natural reverb and sort of sound to it. But yeah, this was at Buffalo, 1979. He calls it the dry pool, an empty swimming pool in the basement of the Media Study, Buffalo, New York. But he intended to do a concert there, I guess, and ended up just doing this here instead. It says, I'll just read from it for a second. I stayed in the pool for preparation and slept there as well. It was very quiet. It gave me the feeling as though I were in an anechoic chamber. I started to hear all kinds of droning sound and almost could not tell if I were hallucinating or not. When I began singing, it was a very simple overtone series. Then I gradually developed a series of intervals which I felt strong. My concern is with the timbre and tuning of the multiple chords, which enabled me to evolve my improvisational singing and made in progression. My concern is with the timbre and tuning of the multiple chords. So, really a fascinating character. Yoshi Wada, Lament for the Rise and Fall of the Elephantine Crocodile on Indian Navigation. Yeah, the jazz label. There it is. Next, some VCLT from Pat, the Muzikhead, who told me, did I know this band, Minami Deutsch? And I think I'd said vaguely familiar, but never really listened to him. And he sent me this record from 2022. It's called Fortune Goodies, and I played a little bit of this on the stream. Thank you, Pat, for sending this to me. This definitely hit the spot. There's an Obi strip. It's on the Guruguru Brain label. Yeah, pretty clear what that's, coming from. I think they have 3 records, and this is a nice one. It really is all about a band focusing on repetition, Krautrock, and Manuel Gottsching's E2, E4. It's got that electronic feeling to it based on the repetition and the sort of minimalism going on. Yeah, very hypnotic, psychedelic, and minimal. What's not to like? But kind of a rock band too at the same time, doing it in sort of a band formation, not just like one-man show. There's still aspects of cluster and noise and agitation free, but that Krautrock influence is heavy on this. This is their second album, actually, and they really love minimal techno music, and that's kind of, like I said, what was influencing here. They're based in Berlin, and they're an instrumental quartet: guitar, bass, drums, and synthesizer. But a beautiful, atmospheric, expansive sound, and yeah, I do think Manuel Gottsching's E2, E4 is a main influence here. I'm going to leave the Obi on there. But, thank you, Pat, the Muzikhead. Just a sweet dude. I haven't spoken too much outside of just going back and forth thanking him for this, but I'm looking forward to exchanging more messages with him, and just really appreciate when someone's, understands the kind of music I like, and, I never expect anyone to send me anything, so I really appreciate this, Pat. And check this record out. Next, a reissue. Yes, believe it or not. This one I decided reissue. I looked at it a few times at Anger Mom. I didn't buy it, but an original of this probably won't, I'll never even see it, so I just decided after looking at how the high quality nature of the reissue, it had previously been bootlegged. I figured why not. So every now and then a reissue feels right. Dom, Edge of Time. This has been previously, like I said, a bootleg. This is on the Sommor or Gerson reissue, so it's really a Gerson issue. I didn't read this whole insert yet, but this is a group that did play live around Germany. I think they were from Dusseldorf, is that right? Yeah, Dusseldorf. This is from 1972, original mellow chord, but recorded in 1970. Exceptionally rare, 4-figure album. I first found out about this watching Derek Higgins all those years ago. I remember him talking about this, and I was very intrigued by it. The Sommor label. And it talks about it here. Monster tripped out Floydian psychedelia Krautrock by this band from Dusseldorf featuring visual artist Gabor Bakse. Dark atmospheric hypnotic sound with percussion, flute, organ, guitars, and early electronics, proto-industrial sound collages. It sounds like it's everything and nothing, or, you know, it's everything and it's everything you want it to be, but it really does sound like all those things. Recommended if you like Pink Floyd, Tangerine Dream, Mythos, Cluster, Popol Vuh, and Yatha Sidra. Renee Fisk of Dunian says, my favorite German psychedelic underground album of all time. And this is one of those underground, out there Krautrock records. It's not even a rock record so much as it just is like a experimental happening. A little like an Amandul. Did play live with Kraftwerk and Can, so they were out there. But just, yeah, free-flowing, sort of like things unfold in a really, you know, natural way. Popol Vuh is definitely an influence here, especially those early ones, you know, cosmic, druggy, and trippy. It's like all the good stuff, you know. A lot of flute, percussion, and just atmosphere. Yeah, it's like the underground Popol Vuh. Apparently the Second Battle, I think that's the reissue that was bootlegged, is not very good. This sounds amazing. And I think that one had bonus material that was like recorded later and really didn't belong. This is just the album straight up. So, yeah, and it's called Dom. How do I not get this? I just figured I have to get it. And I do love this sort of like text cover. Here are the members there. It's a quartet. So, yeah, I decided to get this reissue. Nice insert. Oops. Even a download code if anyone cares. But, yeah, high quality. It felt right. We went for it. I got a few more, some nice ones here. This is a tough original to find. This is Outlander by Meic Stevens, a Welsh singer-songwriter, very much in the Bob Dylan mold. I mean, he's the Welsh Dylan, is what they say. It's on the Warner Brothers label. Only was released in the UK. These Warner Brothers labels. There's a Numero Group reissue of this, which I had previously, and I bought this from Smooth Sick Lights. The last thing I think I got from him towards the end of the year. He's a big artist in Wales, and would record many records and become like one of the most well-known Welsh artists. But this is his like folk rock, little acid folk effort from 1970. Apparently after this he had a nervous breakdown. He was starting to become pretty well known in Wales, and yeah, even in Wales they got pressures, man. But he still remains, I don't actually know if he's still alive, but he's one of the biggest names in Welsh music. You'll hear this and know, like, yeah, this guy's going for a Dylan thing, but it's definitely got a little bit of a Fairport Convention feel to it, a little bit of, experimentalism, cool voice. I really enjoy his voice quite a bit, and yeah, country rock too. This is a nice album, not one I was like heavily looking for, but it turned up on my radar via Smooth Sick Lights, and I've acquired a lot of his collection. Sleeve is not in amazing shape, but still pretty good. It's sort of a thin UK sleeve. The record plays nice. This is a strong one. I did have the Numero reissue, but I since have moved it on. So, solid folk rock record. If you've never heard this, check it out.
But the postage stamp can't stop feeling that somebody'd say in the leftover time tomorrow became today.
I do love those Warner Brothers labels too. Here's a big one that's been discussed since the Record Store Day reissue last year, but it's always been one of the most sort of like go-to Psych records, and maybe overhyped for some, not for me. I think this record is a stunner, and it occupies the space of dreamy, reverb-heavy, not psychedelic rock. It's just Psych and sort of like heady Psych, and you'd think it would be just like straight Psych pop, but no. This is the original Gandalf. Finally have a copy. I had the Scorpio reissue. I've since moved on. This was graded as a VG record, and I was able to get this for like finally what I wanted to pay for it, which was what it used to go for. This thing has been, people have been trying to get $700, $800, $900, $1,000. No way. We're way down on that. Not even close to that. So, and it was VG. I made an offer. They accepted. I'm like, all right, let's hope this. I was hoping the VG would be better than it is, and you know, it was off eBay, so I could see the record, or I could see the sleeve. The only issue is this G, which I don't really care about. It's G for Gandalf. There's some tape up here, but it's very tastefully done on the bottom too. And what matters is what's the overall presentation. This still presents really well. If not for the tape and the G, you could definitely get a VG Plus out of this, and like. The ring wear is not bad. So I'm very happy. And even better, the record. Classic Capitol labels. This is a Scranton press, I believe. Yep, there's the triangle. Graded as VG. I cleaned it up. It looks VG Plus, and this thing plays clean. You'll hear it on the sample. No issues. This is a VG Plus player even. So I was really happy. I don't know how many know the story, but this band was known as the Reissues. They got pretty well known around New Jersey and New York in the mid to late 60s, mid 65, 66, 67. And they were like a touring covers band doing like R&B covers. They got to be really good at their craft. And to make a long story short, they got a deal with Capitol, and they started experimenting with organs and I believe Mellotron, and creating a really cool sound that they finally decided to record. And they got a publishing deal. And they recorded this in late 67, but through a series of bullshit and label stuff, and like, you know, they got lost in the shuffle. This wouldn't get released until 69. So this was very late, and it's just never really got off the ground. But it's a beautiful, hazy, dreamy record. I know it's been said many times this is how dreamy this is, but it really is. Peter Sando is the sort of songwriter quartet, and it's all covers except for the two songs, and those two songs that are originals are maybe the best. Can You Travel in the Dark Alone, and what is it, Never Too Far is the other one, and the final track, I Watch the Moon, which is amazing. Nature Boy, the Eden Abez, they do a cover of that. That's excellent. The first track, Golden Earrings, shows them sort of really getting into that's a mind-blowing opening track. And this whole record, it never rocks, and that's what's great about it. It stays in this pocket of just, you know, far-outness. Forget about Gandalf and the Lord of the Rings thing. It has nothing to do with it. It's kind of just the name. They were like Gandalf and the Pranksters or something, and they just shortened it to Gandalf. And there's a couple great interviews with Peter Sando. Here he is. They really give the whole story. And really, this band was known as the Reissues for like most of their time. Rahgoos. That's really who they were. They were a garage R&B band, but they made this record that really experimented, and apparently they were really disappointed with it, but people have grown to love it. They thought it wasn't sort of out there enough for like what they were trying to do. I think they were just happy with Golden Earrings, the lead-off track. Everything else they thought was too, like, wasn't crazy enough, but this one remains one of those records everyone's looking for. So finally got a copy, and one I'm very happy with, a keeper copy. If I could find a better sleeve maybe, but the sleeve still presents great, so I'm happy with it. EP on Flying Nun, all women quintet. There's sort of the second wave of Dunedin sound, definitely on the pop side of the New Zealand Flying Nun sound, but catchy as all get out. And it's on the original. I'm collecting these 80s Flying Nuns on the 45 RPM EPs, the custom labels. All of the early EPs have custom labels. Later they would come out on those yellow and pink labels. So this is Cactus Cat, or I guess it's LBGP EP2. And it's got that song Cactus Cat, which you'll hear in a second. But it's a 5-track EP, all women. And they are great singers, great harmonizers, great songwriters. This has just got that Flying Nun classic sound, that upfront bass sound, really snappy drums, catchiness. This is from 1986. Kind of a sour record sound, you might say. If you like the Bats with that bass sound, this is you probably know this band if you're into Flying Nun. Members went on to be in other bands like the 3Ds, Ghost Club, and Chug. One of them even works for Flying Nun, I have written here. But what do they have? 1 7-inch and 2 EPs. So I now have both EPs. And they were a 5-piece, actually. So I saw this at WFMU, and it was considerably high priced. And I decided to balk. I kind of wished I'd gotten it, so I was looking further, and I got this very cheap because of this issue right here. So I'm okay with it. I can live with that based on getting this for the price I got. So always looking to score Flying Nuns, and so happy to get that one.
Where the great cactus grows. There is my baby, and everybody knows. Yeah, she is my cactus cat. She is my best friend.
All right, one more, and this one goes out to my friend Stunty in his stream. You know, every stream I watch them all. There's always good stuff and always things I want to track down, but you can't get everything. I can't get everything Stunty has. That's Stunty's collection. I'm not trying to duplicate it, but there's those few. I add a bunch to a want list. Hope to see them at some point, and then there's those few that I go to try to get right away. And this is one that I immediately put on my radar to get. Akandege, and this album Owende, an artist from Gabon. And I actually ordered, it's actually a cheap record. It's like a €10 record. I ordered it, I forget from where first, and they sent me the wrong record. They sent me a different Akandege record, which I don't think I even shown yet. And they didn't have this. They like, oh, do you want me to send you this other record by him? I'm like, all right, fine. And that one's good, but I really wanted this. So this is one of the ones I included when I talked about those Don Cherry records from that Plexus Records. I added this. This was like €10. This is his third album on Le Chant du Monde. Legendary label, French label. And yeah, Gabon is a southern, on the western but southern side of Africa, a French-speaking nation, and yeah, it's just a stunning record. It's got a spiritual, but very political sort of like stance taken here. And there's even some fuzz at times, a couple of moments where it gets even a little bit out there. Yeah, fuzz. But it's mainly got this beautiful flute sound, beautiful pastoral, but really engaging and really sort of immersive is the best way to put it. Stunty did a great feature on it. Born in 1943, still alive. It's his third album, 78. It's quite pastoral, and yeah, if you like spiritual jazz, you'll definitely get into this with the addition of it being African, but it feels a little bit like some of those spiritual Nyabingi records from Jamaica, though it doesn't have anything to do with reggae necessarily. It leans more on the jazz sort of flavor, but a folk sound to it, and just wonderful, a real wonderful listen. I've been really enjoying this. the entire time. Didier Lavallée is on bass on this, as well as Richard Rowe on saxophone. Yeah, it's a $10 record, but again, it's not seen in the US very often, so I knew I'd have to get it from Europe, and I did, from Plexus Records in France. So let's hear a clip of that. Akandege's Owende. That is this vinyl Absorption. Stay tuned for a whole bunch more this week. We'll see where we get to as we are slowly getting into spring soon enough. Gotta have a lot of things coming up that I'm excited about. So, yes, stay tuned for notification on that John Fahey interview with biographer Steve Lowenthal. So, take care, everybody. I'll talk to you in the comments. And thank you again for all your support. Cheers.